Alright. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we got it. Shit. Okay. Are we there? Good, we're there. What I am curious about... Speakers. Okay. So, just for the purposes of hearing, I need to do this to find out. Okay, so that comes through. Let me go ahead and see if another thing comes through. Okay. Okay, so just to find out, is it coming through? Can you hear the video? Since there's a playback there, you can let me know. Did it play through at all? No. Because it...
Today's video is brought to you by
Did it play through at
Gryffindor
all?
brand
No.
shirts.
Is it... I gotta check. These are not my headphones. What's going on with
Today's
this?
video is brought to you by
Did it play through at
Gryffindor
all?
brand
No.
shirts.
Is it... Okay, yes, it absolutely does play through. So why? Let's just do this, I guess. Okay. Oh shit. I didn't even realize. So why? Why are you picking up this? That's not what I wanted to do. Where is my... There it is. Should be there. I put up a different monitor. Instead of the big ass TV, I've got a smaller monitor. So there we go. Okay. I think we are set. Yeah, my band has been doing stuff, so I haven't been doing a whole lot on here. But I do sub. Oh, I guess this needs to move a bit so I can have access to my whole computer. We titled this stream, "The Gray Zone Isn't Trustworthy," because that's extraordinarily true. Okay. What do the people who are on the gray zone side of things say about literally every conspiracy? Like all of them. Ooh, you know what? Let me do this. And try and set this up to do the thing. I don't need headphones right now because I'm not... Okay. Yeah. That's nice. You can see it back there swirling. That's nice. That's on this side. Okay. We'll dismiss this. But, gray zone type people. The fucking Jimmy Doors, the Aaron Mate and Blumenthal themselves, the supporters of those, the supporters of the gray zone are absolute fucking dog shit. Their main argument against any data that you can provide is it is somehow State Department or CIA linked. They will find a way to do it. It could be like 30 levels removed. They'll throw it out there. It could literally have no involvement except for one CIA person talk to one other person, and that's it. So they'll call everything CIA or State Department linked. When the gray zone itself, they don't release their funding. Patreon gray zone. $840 patrons. And they're giving out these rewards, which, if it's ethically sourced, will not be cheap. That's not what I need. Now, let's do a little bit of math. They have 840 patrons. So, we'll say... I'm very bad at math. So, averaging 28... So, the $25 one is the closest one to average. So we'll say that everybody is in the middle tier donation. Less than 25? That's a totally different thing. So less than 25. So if we went with a generous 15, $21,000 a month divided by 15 is $1,400 per month. Just in salary, which isn't much. And then there has to be some way to afford plane tickets and yada yada yada, all the equipment and resources to be able to do what they do. So who the fuck bankrolls them? Now, we'll even go with the generous one. Every single patron is a $50. All of them. And you still have to divide that by 15, which is $2,800 a month. Which, if you divide that by 4, is $700 a week. Which is not enough to live on. It literally doesn't add up. And they say that this is their exclusive funding source. Is the gray zone. Info warriors. Isn't that what they call the people who follow InfoWars? Just saying. Well, who owns the gray zone? That would be Max Blumenthal. This man, right here. Max Blumenthal is an American journalist, author, blogger, and filmmaker. He is a regular contributor to Sputnik and RT. Sydney and Jacqueline Blumenthal are the parents, who I believe Sydney is the owner of Blumenthal. Hyman V. Blumenthal and Claire Stone, huh? Oh, former aide to Bill Clinton, that's right. Who the fuck owns the Blumenthals? So he's done a lot, okay. But Max Blumenthal currently is employed to work for Sputnik and RT. Both of which, RT, Russia Today, and Sputnik, Russia state-owned news agency. Russia state-controlled international television. I wonder how the gray zone gets its money. So here's the real question. This is a little bit conspiratorial. I can admit this. But I think there is a non-zero chance that potentially, maybe, it is possible that Russia funnels money and does money laundering through Max Blumenthal and the Gray Zone. This is a theory. I'm not alleging anything. But I'm saying it could be possible. He may not even know about it. I mean, it's Russia. Russia is not a leftist nation, y'all. Despite what Caleb Maupin and, well, Max Blumenthal may kind of allege. Nah. You can look up information about Russia. It is not a left-wing haven. It is a fucking fascist nation. So, there's that. Because this, right here, I literally just did the math. 840 patrons, and even at $50 a month, $42,000 a month. Right? And I looked up how many employees they have. It says less than 25. I'm under the assumption that they would label it as less than 5 if it was less than 5, less than 10 if it was less than 10, less than 15 if it was less than 15, but they specifically say less than 25. So, I did a generous bit of, well, I gave them a fair amount of charity on this and said they have 15 employees. It's $2,800 a month per employee. Now that's not bad. Like, it's really not. But if they're paying them off of the Patreon, and it's a weekly basis, $700 a week, that's good depending on where you, like, in my state, $700 a week, if I got that, I'd be okay. I wouldn't be good, but I would be not desperately struggling for my life as badly. Whew. But no, this is not necessarily a good amount of money. So we can go back to the 2,800. Now, if they're not paying their employees out of this, or, I mean, we can even go with a more generous, it's 42,000. We can go with a more generous and say that they have 5 employees, which is $8,400. Now, you could obviously say that this is where they put some of their expenses at, because if you divide that by 4, $2,100 a week is a lot. You can divide that by 40. 5250 times 40. Yeah. Okay, so $2,100. Yeah, no, you could easily assume that this right here is not what they pay everybody. $2,100. That's a pretty good amount of money. I'm assuming they have more employees than just 5. It is the gray zone. There is a ton of work that they've put forward. Like, they're dropping stories. And doing all of this. Now, the website is laid out fairly poorly, I think. But they've been dropping stuff. Jonathan Cook, Max Blumenthal. Yeah, this right here shows okay, so they got Jonathan Cook and Max Blumenthal and Gareth Porter and Kevin. So Ben Norton. Anya Parampil. So if we count up how many people work here, we're already above 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. So we'll just go with that. 16. Plus we'll say that there's 3 editors. So 19 people. $2,200 a month. And some of these people live in New York. That's definitely not enough. Do they also have other jobs? I'd hope so. So, when I say that there is literally no reason to trust the gray zone, it's because I mean it. I am fairly certain, in my own mind, this is my own personal opinion, that Max Blumenthal uses money from Russia to pay for the gray zone to operate. I do. Because if he's paying the journalists out of the Patreon, and I counted 19 individuals in there. $22,10.52. That's if they're all getting paid literally equally. $22,10.53, I guess. So $552 a week. And that's actually before taxes. And that depends on state and everything for that person, so it's even less. What the fuck? Like, there's literally no way. God damn it. Okay. How do people take them seriously? It's literally all a giant scam. So, as they like to say that everything is State Department media or CIA show bullshit, the way that they do, no, Gray Zone is State Department media for just a different state. Can we agree on that? I know some people won't. Actually, a lot of people who come across this probably will say that I'm an idiot or whatever, and that I'm furthering U.S. imperialism by not wanting to uphold, Russian right-wing destabilization. Doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. So look, we did some research into Gray Zone. I looked in, I counted up some journalists to get a rough idea of how many people worked there as journalists. I didn't even add in the editors. Wait, yeah, I did. I counted 16 journalists, and then I just added in 3 editors. So it could be slightly less. It could be 16, but still, that's more than the 15 math that I already did, and they were getting paid fairly poorly based off of that. Now this, you're gonna have to give me a second. That's not what I wanted. Alright. Where is it? Here it is.
Hello.
Yo, what's up?
Okay, Vosh, what's up? What's up? See, before we get into anything, I want to say, why don't we begin this by being respectful? Let's begin this being respectful. Infrared will show respect to people who show us respect. We can have a nice, civil, constructive, respectful conversation. What do you think about that, my friend?
Okay, I agree to those terms, but only after an initial period of disrespect, which I'll begin by saying, why the fuck
You won't win,
are you
but you won't win that fight. You don't
why
want to
the
do that
fuck
fight.
are you
don't wanna do that fight.
spamming my Reddit and my chat debate infrared? What are you doing? Why are you spamming me? Why
I
are
am
you
not spamming you. That is the power of Infrared's chat, my friend. We are so powerful right now. You have 8K viewers, and I have 100 viewers, and our chat is more high energy than your chat. I'm sorry to say, man, I can't control them. They're crazy out of control. We're wild, bro. We're growing so fast, and we are the future of the left on YouTube.
and I'm out of control cringing, so
No,
it's
they're
it
really
fits
not.
that power.
A, they're really not, and B, Infrared has dealt so many blows to himself, and then he has dumb fuck Jackson Hinkle trying to do a hang-on to him. So, no. Haas Infrared is not the future of the left. Neither is Jackson Hinkle or Luna Oi. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a thing.
That energy, we're matching it. All right, let's do it. Hit me with your best arguments. You a tanky? That's what people say.
I'm 100% tanky, 100% Stalinist, 100% Maoist, Marxism, Leninism in the age of multipolarity and the post-COVID world.
Okay, hit me up. What? I assume you're familiar with some of my arguments.
I am familiar with some of your arguments. So let's see, where do we want to begin? Let me paint a broad brush, and let's capture a bunch of arguments in one argument.
Sure.
Your view of liberalism, which is also bundled up with your view of American unipolarity, your slander and demonization of Russia as a fascist power, your defense of American unipolar liberal world order against the specter of fascism. And then we can bridge that to your views on the Capitol Hill riots, your endorsement for voting for Biden, that kind of, I want to weave these threads together.
Yeah, bring it all together.
Synthesize. What's that?
Synthesize. Bring it all together. Engage in the dialectic. Take these differing perspectives. Unify them. What do we got?
Precisely. Okay. So as I'm familiar with your argument, okay, this is how I'm going to sum it up. Basically, your idea is that it's an arithmetic, right? Liberalism is greater than fascism, better than fascism. Then, therefore, socialists or communists should be pro-liberal against the fascists. Basically, that's your argument, right?
Yeah. I don't think that it's worthwhile to attack liberalism if the outcome of that attack would be a descent into fascism. I think that you need to maintain, you need to ensure that your critiques.
This is a clip channel for Vosh, surpassing the current live count for Infrared.
Of liberalism lead you to a better place, not a worse one.
Okay. Are you familiar with Hegel's master-slave dialectic?
I am familiar with Hegel's master-slave dialectic.
Okay. So you know it's a battle for recognition. What is the battle for recognition? What is its linchpin? It's a fight to see who is willing to die, right?
Sure. I mean, that's...
Two people go at it. Whoever's proving they have more balls, they're more willing to die, basically they win out. They become the master, right?
I'm not entirely sure if that's a faithful interpretation of the Hegelian concept, but so where does your criticism lie?
Right?
What?
Fight to the death, right?
Sure.
It's about a fight for the death, proving your life. It's the fight to the death.
Who? Wait. Less allegorical. What's the criticism?
I'm telling you, politics is the same shit. You have some type of order. You have the state. You have the status quo. Whoever is willing to risk its death with the most courage and with an alternative vision, if you're not willing to risk the death of the liberal order, then you prove your weakness. And then like Bernie did, then the fascists are going to come and devour you, like how you're saying. But I even object to the view that Trump is a fascist. and
I
that
know
there
you
is
do.
really a looming specter of fascism that's
I know.
coming from the right-wing
It's
populace.
interesting. It's crazy how tankies tend to be like the most pro-fascist people that you'll find outside of fascism.
Oh, really?
Because
I
if they
said he
acknowledge
wasn't a
that Trump is fascist,
I
they would
said I don't
implicitly agree
he's
with the
a
Democratic
fascist,
Party
actually.
platform.
You seem to be supporting the Ukrainian fascists and Alexei Navalny, who was close to being a Russian ethno-fascist, and you called him a fucking civic nationalist. Why is Navalny a civic nationalist, but everyone else is a fascist? Can
Who's
you
everyone
answer
else?
that question?
Well, fascists are fascists.
But why is Navalny a civic nationalist, but Trump is a fascist? None of them call themselves fascists, according to you. Navalny made a video comparing Muslims. He compared Muslims to cockroaches who should be exterminated, and you called him a civic nationalist.
Why
is he a civic nationalist?
Why would a fascist call themselves a fascist? Wouldn't that kind of give the game away a little bit?
Okay, do you think Navalny's a fascist?
I think that Navalny has some very bad tendencies, but I think on the whole, he's better than Putin. I don't think he's a fascist in the way that Putin is.
Putin, for all his problems and his social conservatism or whatever, which is what you're aiming at, Putin is not a racist. Navalny's a fucking racist.
Okay, hold on. Let's wait. I don't even care to get into this. Do you want to roll back to like the substantial argument you have against what we were talking about?
Yeah, it all goes back to.
Yeah, no, this is some absolute ridiculous off-the-wall shit. Infrared is very prone to vagaries. I definitely misspelled that. Vosh was direct. His critiques need to lead to a positive place, though, because they usually don't. Infrared moves to a poor interpretation of the Hegelian dialectic, which, yeah, Infrared doesn't understand fascism, which is true. Putin isn't racist, which, yeah, he is. Vosh asks him to define fascism, and he keeps dancing around it, calls it the Anglo box, defining words, it somehow abstracts concepts. Fascism is a social phenomenon, liberal when it meets a self-contradiction. Liberalism when it meets a self-contradiction. Vosh asks for characterization of fascism, he just has to laugh at this. Infrared rambles. I don't understand what he's trying to get to on that one. I got a breakdown of the entire thing, so yeah, we're on the define the word part.
The same thing. You're picking and choosing what is or isn't fascism, and based on that, you're shilling for the liberal status quo.
What is fascism? Tell me. What is...
Historically speaking, liberals, English liberal elites, are the ones who funded fascism. It was their pet fucking project.
What is fascism? Give me a definition.
Has always been the liberal elites and the liberal world order.
Give me a definition of fascism, okay?
No, see, here's the thing with BreadTube. They see, we have a meme among our infrared people. We call your definition mongering, the reduction of the meaning of words to more strings of words, the Anglo box.
I see.
You think the meaning of words is premised by something someone wrote somewhere?
Defining a concept actually reduces the meaning. What is fascism as a historical phenomena? What historically has that word referred to? I don't know. I think you're a fascist. Don't ask me to define fascism, though. I think you're a fascist.
Why do you think I'm a fascist? You don't even know who I am. You've never even heard of infrared and you're calling me a fascist?
How do I need to know who you are? If words don't need to have definitions, then just tell me who you are. That's a fascist.
No. Words have sense. Words have meaning, but that meaning and that sense is not reducible to some formalistic, preemptive string of words that's written in a stone tablet
okay, then
somewhere.
I can't reduce the reason. I can't reduce the reason why you're a fascist to a formalistic definition.
Where do you think people writing the dictionaries get the fucking words from that they're defining the words from? They get it from actual reality.
Linguistic fascism?
To reduce the meaning of words to another string of words, then guess what? There's no meaning to words at all. Everything's just self-referential. Yeah. There has to be a bit of actual reality to give meaning to the fucking words.
I thought I was...
Let me tell you something else, Vosh. Let me tell you something else,
I thought I was radical by being an epistemic anti-realist, but you're taking it to a whole nother level. You're like a grammatical subjective... You're like a grammatical solipsistic...
If what you are asking is for me to simplify what I think fascism is, that's fine. But I'm not going to give you a definition that's going to hold for every possible context and every possible scenario. I think there's no fucking such thing. But if you want me to sum it up, I'll say this. Fascism is a historical phenomena that was that emerged in the 20s and 30s, a period that was an objective social revolution in the forces of production and in politics. You had the New Deal, you had the British welfare state, you had social democracy, and then you had Soviet communism. All of these were united by the fact that there was some kind of objective social revolution defining the era. Fascism was specifically Fascism, this is how it sum up fascism. Ready? Fascism is liberalism. Fascism is liberalism as it enters into a contradiction with itself. Fascism is the psychosis of liberalism.
Okay.
The psychosis of liberalism.
What is a fascist government like?
The liberal order of the 19th century and liberal democracy objectively collapsed in this period of the 20s and the 30s.
So what is a fascist government like? Like, give me some characteristics. You know,
you just look at the example of most of these things are on the surface. Vosh, Nazi Germany called itself fascist. So did Italy.
No, wait.
So it's kind of something on the surface.
So give me some characteristics. Like, give me like some characteristics. Like, what I'm looking at a fascist government. What does it look like? Paint a picture for me.
So Nazi Germany and Italy. You want me to paint a picture of those governments?
Yeah, well, no, not just those two, but fascism in general, because those aren't the only.
You're trying to create an abstraction that doesn't actually exist in reality, but is some kind of something that exists in thin air.
Wait, hold on. Just to be really quick. Just to be super clear, you are creating an abstraction. I'm asking you to dispel it.
You believe that there's some abstract criterion of it's an eternal platonic idea or some shit that's actually manifesting itself in reality.
You know what these words mean? Are you aware of what any of the words you're using mean? You realize by asking for a set of characteristics.
Listen, Vosh.
Wait, hold on. I'm just gonna mute you really quick.
I know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'll wait. So, he's still talking. We can wait. That's okay. I'll just talk to Chad for a while. Hey, what's up, guys? I don't mind the yelling. It has to be back and forth. It can't just be one way or it's not fun. It has to be back and forth. We'll wait for a bit. I think he stopped talking. Okay, you here, dude? Okay, cool. So, okay, I've unmuted you. So, this is only fun for me if it's like a little back and forth. I'll give you like 70-30. You can take the 70, but I gotta get at least 30. You gotta give me a little, okay?
30. What's your 30? Tell me your 30.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna ask a couple.
Just so you know, I just went ahead and did the math, the deep dive research, and Tanky, Twitch, and YouTube, 94,231. Just Vosh, 455,133. If I put in the people who talk to Vosh in a positive manner.
Questions, I'm a question asker. So first of all, my question is, and this is important, do you have any idea what any of these words mean? Because saying that I'm trying to invoke an abstraction by asking you for concrete definitions of what fascist governments look like, this is the opposite of an abstraction. So
tell me what's so concrete about this definition you're asking for. There's nothing concrete about it.
I'm not giving you your answer.
Something in actual reality. You're asking me to locate a string of words that applies to every single circumstance in every possible fucking way.
Damn,
listen, boss, let me tell you something. Isn't it?
You're not asking for truth. You're just asking for words to describe the truth.
Isn't it? Okay, Vosh, for example, isn't it kind of curious that if you define fascism preemptively in the way you're saying, you can fucking apply it to the Soviet Union, to China, to North Korea, to communist states as well?
That is kind of curious, isn't it? Really makes you wonder.
It is.
It's curious.
You want to know why? Because you're prejudiced by Anglo-Saxon liberalism, according to which everything outside of liberalism equals fascism. That's why you call every non-Western, every non-Anglo-Saxon white person.
You must think very little of socialism if you think socialism has to meet the definition of fascism.
In my fucking voice, I'm an Arab, and you called me a fascist because you're a fucking racist. You're a Western chauvinist, right?
No.
No, I don't see race. I just assumed that you were an amorphous,
you believe
racial
in
agented
American
blob.
unipolar imperialism and the American boot that's down on the fucking necks of the peoples of the world.
Are you
in
engaging
the name of defending against fascism,
in liberal identity politics right now?
I hate
forces
nose
of
hair
world
and
anti-imperialism of being fascist, and you slander them on this basis. What a despicable thing, Vosh.
Are you engaging in liberal identity politics right now? Hey, you said that. Hold on, wait. I'm getting it now. You said that liberalism is when it meets a contradiction, it becomes fascism. And you, despite hold on. Wait, I need to mute you because I'm on a brain blast right now. So you said that you are not a liberal, but you're engaging in liberal identity politics. So there's a contradiction there. So you're a liberal engaging in a contradiction. You're a fascist, bro. Now I know.
Okay,
Thank you.
hey,
You provided
guess
me the
what?
definition
Guess what?
through showing, not telling. I
Hey,
appreciate
guess
that.
what, dumbass? Vosh, you muted me because you know I'm gonna demolish you when you
No, it's because
when
I
you
wanted to
unmute me.
preserve the structure of
Am
the
I
joke. You were
unmuted?
going to
Am I
interrupt the
unmuted?
punchline. You're not
Am I
muted right now.
unmuted?
You're not
Am I
muted.
unmuted?
You're unmuted, but you were going to ruin the
Okay, I'm
punchline because
unmuted.
you.
Let me respond to that,
This is
Vosh.
what I mean.
First of all, the idea that you need to be a liberal to recognize Anglo-Saxon chauvinism and white supremacy is a joke. It's almost quite the contrary, actually. Oftentimes, what you're calling liberal identity politics is actually a vehicle for Anglo-Saxon chauvinism
Sounds
and
pretty
white
liberal to
supremacy
me, dude.
to disguise itself in opportunistic terms. Second of all, this
Are
is
you
my
still with
fucking
her?
issue. This is my issue with your definition mongering, Vosh. And you know, when you let me speak, I'm gonna beat you. You are demolished. You are wrecked. I am beating you right now. Chat, witness the downfall of
Were you
the
a big
Titan.
Obama
Infrared
fan?
is
I'm hearing a
rising.
lot
It's
of
an objective fact.
hope
Let's
and
continue.
change in your
Let's
voice.
continue. Let's continue. I told you fascism is liberalism psychosis, and you said must be an alternative. Every time there's any type of possible what I qualify as a contradiction, that must mean that you're a fat. You're trying to see. This is how you fucking breadtube Destiny fucking B tier Destiny fucking YouTubers and content creators. You just copied off of Destiny's fucking
B for
style.
big dick. Ha!
Listen. Destiny's whole fucking axiomatic, systemic, whatever fucking thing, you're trying to make that compatible with socialism. Destiny is actually right when he's debating all of you fucking people. He's actually the consistent one.
Sounds pretty liberal.
You're trying to mingle in Marxism and socialism, all this kind of shit with that. And Destiny's just the more fucking consistent one.
Hey, guys.
That's why he wrecks all of you breadtube people in fucking debates.
Guys.
Whenever I watch a debate between you guys and Destiny's always won.
Am I right or wrong? Or is the English language derivative of Eurocentric colonialism? Is this motherfucker speaking English at me right now? Is that unironically what this so-called socialist is doing?
This is the fucking point, Vosh. The reason you defend child pornography is because you don't understand human. You don't understand that meaning. That meaning can't be reducible in this robotic, mechanical fucking way to more strings of words. So based on this abstract robotic arithmetic of yours, you found equivalences to lead you to the conclusion that actually there's nothing wrong with holding child pornography because you know what? You're actually having computers from the middle of Central Africa. Therefore, I can say a sociopathic, completely antisocial, fucking anti-human thing.
I don't speak colonizer. I don't know what you're saying, dude. I'm losing it.
Is that what meaning means to you? You lost, Vosh. You lost. It's a wrap. I won. Vosh's chat. I just beat your fucking daddy. How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? Infrared is rising. How does it feel? Tell me how it feels, Vosh.
It feels like I'm cringing and it hurts, so I think you are winning, actually. Hold on,
Vosh. Infrared. You just made us fucking viral. You propelled us into the stratosphere by letting me on. You don't know where we came from, Vosh.
All right, that's enough cringe. That was fun for a...
Yeah. That's the level of argumentation. Like, Vosh just trolls at that point. And he says, you know, infrared rising and blah, 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 blah. And so far, this is, without Vosh's numbers, the breadtubers who I've heard speak to him positively. And this isn't including TJ Kirk or the Furries podcast thing that he did or, you know, a bunch of other people's stuff. That's the level of ignorance that I generally expect to come across with the gray zone crowd, though. That one right there, that infrared debate, yeah. No, it was all just fucking undefined buzzwords. I don't know what that was. But I wanted to do a little something today, you know, kind of bring that up. It all kind of ties in together. Jimmy Dore is another one. Jimmy Dore is a fucking moron. And I've done this. Why? Why? You'll see it here in a second. On screen. Yeah, see if you can spot it before I point it out. Do we want to do some React shit before I wrap up? Yeah, see, I don't want to go with Hassan reacting to a thing. That's not... No. Hey, this guy. I've heard enough stuff that I've heard said to me by friends that it's like, hey, I found this out on Today, I found out, that I go and look up and it's like, no, that is not true. So I can't really trust Today, I found out. Let's go. Thank God, okay. I'm about to
Hi, my
switch
name is
it.
Nancy, and I work with the International Socialist Organization. And I just want to start by saying I, like I'm sure many other people who are here tonight, are deeply indebted to your work. It's been absolutely essential in helping us cut through the kind of garbage that we're faced with every day when we try to figure out what's going on in the world. But I think there's also, if I can continue, I think there is also a problem in the analysis that I've seen in your works and that you presented tonight, in the sense that I think we can tend to lose the forest for the trees, that you present so many, astonishing details about what is wrong with the system and about what is wrong with the media, that we can tend to lose sight of what I think the really key question is, which is, why is this control necessary in the first place? And I would submit, at least, that I think it's because there's antagonism.
Real quick side note. So, I watched a video not too long ago where one of scam baiter, Kit Boga, managed to get a scammer on webcam or on a video call. He had to do a lot of work, but he dressed up as a woman to fool the person, and I think he actually likes it. So, based.
I got a minute and a half, I swear to God it's no longer. It's because there's antagonistic interests involved. They didn't talk about milkmaids and dairy maids and spinsters and laborers in the 17th century for no reason. It was because they were the working class. And what we see today in this country, I think, is quite frankly, let's speak bluntly, a ruling class which tries to control a working class population. And that's what it's about, is holding on to that power. If that's the case, then it seems like to me the question that we face is how to organize to change that system, to challenge capitalism. And I think in that effort, you do a disservice to your listeners and to the people who respect your work when you equate Lenin with Stalinism as blithely as you did tonight. I say that, and I think it's also important to point out that that is an unquestioned assumption and also an easy applause getter we saw that you share with the mainstream media. And I think if it were actually that simple, the horrific kinds of measures that even bourgeois historians describe as a counter-revolution under Stalin would not have been necessary if they were all the same to begin with. Now, in short, to sum up, the situation that you have outlined tonight, I think, is extremely serious.
That is some passion. However, Noam Chomsky knows what he's doing here, so you see him nodding along to the question.
And I think it's important that we all take it seriously. What we're talking about is literally the fate of millions of lives around the world, particularly in the international politics that you described. That being the case, then I think we need a full and a serious and a fair discussion of various different alternatives, not just talking about the horrors of capitalism, but actually how to change it to end this stuff once and for all.
Well, I think you made, yeah. I think, well, there's several questions there. One is about the discussion of the United States, and I think what I said is approximately what you said, except I didn't use some of that rhetoric. Which I don't think is particularly helpful to tell you the truth, either analytically or to understand or whatever, but it's the same picture. John Jay had it straight. The people who own the country ought to govern it, and the people who own the country have basically now are a network of corporations and conglomerates and banks and so on. They ought to govern it, and the way they do it is by the methods we've described. Now, as far as the Soviet Union is concerned, I didn't happen to talk about it tonight, but I've written about this topic. I haven't just made the charge. I've written about it and explained why I think it's true. And it doesn't bother me if I happen to agree with the mainstream media on this. Trotsky, to pick somebody who you remember, once he was charged in the 1930s with agreeing with the fascists in his condemnation of the Soviet Union. And he pointed out that his critique was to be true. He wasn't going to abandon it if somebody else had to happen to say it for different reasons. So the question is about the Soviet Union, and particularly about Lenin. So what was Leninism? Well, here we have to look at the facts. Now, you look at the facts, I think here's what you find.
The truth. The truth is what you find.
Lenin was a right-wing deviation of the socialist movement, and he was so regarded. He was regarded as that by the Marxists, by the mainstream Marxists. We've forgotten who the mainstream Marxists were because they lost, and you only remember the guys who won. But if you go back to that period, the mainstream Marxists were people like, for example, Anton Pannekoek, who was head of education for the Marxist movement, and he's one of the people who Lenin later denounced as an infantile leftist. But he was one of the leading intellectuals of the actual Marxist movement. Rosa Luxemburg was another mainstream Marxist, and there were others. And they were very critical. In fact, Trotsky was one up until 1917. They were all very critical of Leninism because of this, what they regarded as this opportunistic vanguardism. The idea that the radical intelligentsia were going to exploit popular movements to seize state power.
Yep. Does it sound familiar to some people?
And then to use that state power to whip the population into the society that they chose. Now that was quite inconsistent with Marxism as understood by the mainstream sort of, I'd say, left Marxists. From this point of view, Bolshevism was a right-wing deviation. Trotsky made the same points up till 1917. Now, when Lenin came back to Russia in April 1917, he took a different line, quite a different line from the one he'd had in the past. You take a look at Lenin's work, it shifted character in April 17. In April 1917, it became kind of libertarian. That's when he came out with the April Theses, and that's when he wrote State and Democracy. It came out a year later, but that's when it was written. And these were State and Revolution. These were basically libertarian works. They were very much more in the mainstream of sort of left libertarian socialism, from sort of this range that goes from anarchism over to left Marxism of the Pannekoek-Luxemburg variety. And he talked about Soviets and the need for workers' organization and so on. And in fact, came really closer to what the essence of socialism was always understood to be. After all, the core of socialism was understood to be workers' control over production. That was the core. That's where you begin with. Then you go on to other things. But the beginning is control by the workers over production. That's where it begins. Then Lenin took power in October 1917 in what's called a revolution, but in my view ought to be called a coup. And things followed that coup, or revolution, if you want to call it that. One of the things that followed it was the immediate moves to destroy the Soviets and the factory councils. Those were some of the first moves of Lenin and Trotsky after they took.
Yep.
Trotsky joined at that point, after they took state power. In fact, if you look at what Lenin wrote after that period, or did, you'll find it's a reversion to the earlier position. This sort of left deviation is a deviation.
And that is the thing you have to watch out for. This is why Noam Chomsky does these things. He's pointing out that sometimes if you watch somebody's previous history and they start moving left especially rapidly, you might have to watch out for some sort of counter-revolutionary grift to pull people back towards right-wing ideas. I don't like Lenin. He co-opted a bunch of leftism and then turned things into the USSR.
Ask why, in my view, it was just opportunistic. He knew that in order to gain power, he was going to have to go along with the popular currents that were developing, which were in fact spontaneous and libertarian and socialist, as most popular movements have been, in fact, since the 17th century. And being an astute politician, which he was, he sort of went along with that and talked the line that the people wanted to hear. It's just like when an American politician goes somewhere and his pollsters tell him, say so-and-so, and he says it, doesn't mean he believes it. And I think Lenin was doing the same thing without polls. In any event, whatever your interpretation is, when he took power, he reverted to the former vanguardism and moved at once to eliminate the organs of workers' control. Now that meant he was moving to destroy socialism, if socialism has as its core workers' control over production. The Soviets and the factory councils were instruments of workers' control. And same, you could say they're defective instruments, and that they worked out better and so on, yeah, no doubt. But they were the instruments that had been developed in the course of popular struggle to implement basically workers' control, and those were the first things to go. By early 1918, it's still really before the Civil War set in, Lenin's view was pretty clearly expressed. It was the view that both he and Trotsky took the position that what you need is what Trotsky called a labor army, which is submissive to the control of a single leader. He said modern progress and development and socialism requires that the mass of the population subordinate themselves to a single leader in a disciplined workforce. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with socialism. In fact, it's the exact opposite of it, and was criticized for that by in a spirit of some solidarity, because the revolutionary forces were still operative. He was criticized for that by people like Rosa Luxemburg and by Pannekoek and Gorter and the other mainstream sort of left Marxists, and I think they were right. It seems to me that, and then it just goes on from there. I mean, Lenin reconstructed the czarist systems of oppression often more efficiently, Cheka, KGB, and other techniques of control and oppression. I think from that point on, there was nothing remotely like socialism in the Soviet Union. I think it was, in fact, in my view, it was a precursor of later forms of totalitarianism. Now, you could, that's what I think happened, and I think that's what you discover if you look at the facts. Now, why is it called socialism? Well, I think I think that's complicated, and we should look at it. There's the Soviet Union calls it socialism, and after they took control they did take control pretty soon of most of the international socialist movement, because primarily of the prestige of having created something sort of socialism. Incidentally, just a side remark, Lenin remained, despite it all, a sort of an orthodox Marxist in many respects. And as an orthodox Marxist, he didn't believe that it was possible to have socialism in the Soviet Union. This was supposed to be up to his death, or shortly before his death, when he was still writing, speaking lucidly. He kept the view that the Soviet revolution was a holding action. They were just going to hold things in place until the real revolution took place in Germany, because the revolution, according to Marxist doctrine, was going to take place in the most advanced sector of modern industrial capitalism, for all the reasons that you read about in Marx. That's where the revolution had to take place. Obviously, that wasn't the Soviet Union, so there couldn't be socialism there. It was just some kind of holding action. And that presumably gave some sort of justification for eliminating the socialist institutions. I don't think it's a real justification, but probably that was the internal justification. And again, in taking that view, he was in accord with the mainstream Marxist tradition. Well, after that comes the view that all of this is socialism. And why should the communist parties take that view? I think the reason is because they wanted to sort of exploit the moral force of socialism, which was quite real. it's kind of hard to remember that today. But at that time, it was very real. This was regarded as a, as a progressive moral force, and by associating their own destruction of socialism with the aura of socialism, they hoped to gain credit in the working classes and other progressive sectors. Now, the West also identified that with socialism, and they did it for the opposite reason. They wanted to associate...
Yeah, because of Lenin and Stalin especially, who pushed forth this idea really hard that this was socialism, it set back actual socialist movements for possibly a century. I don't know how long this is going to go on with us not being able to gain good ground. It's been decades at the very least.
Socialism with the brutality of the Russian state that undermined socialism. So what you had is that the two major world propaganda agencies, for their own quite different reasons, were claiming that this is socialism, that this destruction of socialism is socialism. And it's very hard to break out of the control of the world's two major propaganda agencies when they agree. They agreed for different reasons, but they basically agreed, and that then became doctrine and dogma. Well, I think people should ask whether that's true. Take a look back and see whether the moves that Lenin took and that Trotsky supported him in taking and that they both advocated had anything to do with socialism as it was understood by, say, in the Marxist tradition or in the left libertarian tradition.
No.
And I think the answer that you'll discover when you look at that is that they didn't. In fact, this was a destruction of socialist institutions. Well, this may be true or it may be false, but if it's true, and I think the evidence pretty strongly supports it, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't express that fact. And I certainly don't think that we should be deterred in expressing this fact if other people who's, fascists or whatever, happen to condemn the Soviet Union, just for the same reasons that Trotsky mentioned in the 1930s.
You've been listening to an...
Chomsky is absolutely fucking right. As he laid out, he's a smart dude. But I think he's the 8th most cited person in history for shit like that. But yeah, no. I'm a fan of Chomsky because I too am an anarcho-syndicalist, but y'all, come on now. I might surprise y'all. Go check out my band page, The Flatwounds. I might start surprising people with me able to jam out over there. And I mean, if you listen, the sound is pretty decent considering I'm using the same microphone. Just kind of as an example. That's just a real easy going one, and then I could like. I'm playing real loud. voice still. Because I mean, you could hear me singing over the drums here. I can hear myself, and I know you too can hear me. So I'm trying not to like blow out your eardrums. I'm gonna try and warn you, like if I try and get loud. Little stuff like that, and then I can even. Get you played makes it loose. Lefty hard to do. Yeah, that's really hard to do with the left hand, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry for making your ears bleed. Sorry. I warned you. It was gonna happen. Hope you have a good night. Bye.